So we want to be a safe place for you to be able to come and explore God and ask those questions, and hopefully we can answer those for you. We want you to feel like you belong, okay? And hopefully you feel that way. Hopefully you love this place. So awesome, cool. So on your seat, we have a connection card right here. Make sure if you're a first-time guest, make sure to fill this out, and we will make a donation to a child in Haiti and the School of Hope that we have over there. Also, we have a calendar on the back of upcoming events right here, so make sure to check that out. And we also have a prayer request right here on the bottom here, and if you have any prayers, you know somebody needs some prayers, somebody's on, you have somebody on your heart that you're concerned about, just put that down and we will pray over them every week. Also, we have this other card that's on your seat. It says, breakfast is on me. So what we want you to do is invite somebody to church, invite them to breakfast, and then we'll let them know that they're at church when they get here. All right, so we got a few things going on here at Gateway, so check out this video.
Here are a couple of things that are going on this week.
The doctor is in. If you have a cold or are feeling sick to your stomach, we can get you connected to a doctor right away. Our medical room is open tomorrow and Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Your first visit is free, so why feel sick? Women, Infants, and Children, or WIC, will be signing up new individuals this Tuesday. WIC provides baby food, food stamps, and well baby checkups.
Join us for Restore this Tuesday from 5:30 to 7:30. Anything you are struggling with, from drug addiction to anger management, the Restore group is here to help support you through that. Dinner and childcare is also provided. Every Thursday, be a part of transforming lives into a new way of living. From 8:30 to 11 in the morning, we will be making over 1,200 meals, and we will deliver those meals from 5:30 to about 9 o'clock at night. Come and spread hope and love in our community and see lives transformed.
All right. So today we are going to talk about community and the diversity we find in them. And man, we got some diversity in this room, actually. We got all sorts of people, and that's what I love about this church. It's not everybody and their mama, rich, poor, black, white, purple. I love it. So we're going to be hearing from our very own K-Dub. I call him K-Dub, Caleb. Yeah. Woo. But first, we got a song from the band, and we got Angela here. She's our newest member to the band, and she's gonna sing this song. No pressure. This is actually her first time, she says, singing with the band setting. So, yeah, no pressure, no pressure.
And the darkness inside you make you feel so small. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors, beautiful like a rainbow. makes you crazy. Taking all that you can bear. Just call me up, 'cause you know I'll be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors. Don't be unhappy, can't remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy, taking all that you can bear, just call me up, 'cause you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, that's why don't be afraid to let them show your true colors, your true colors are shining through. I see your true colors, that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors, beautiful, like a rainbow.
Hey, let's give it one more time for the band. Man, that was amazing. Great job. Well, good morning, Gateway Branson. Good morning. To preface this, this is not the way to treat diversity, but this is Michael Scott's way. And so often it's weird, though, that this is actually how we sometimes treat diversity. So we'll go ahead and play that clip.
Here, I want you to take a card, put it on your forehead. Don't look at the card. I want you to take the card and I want you to put it on your forehead. And take a card, any card. And I want you to treat other people like the race that is on their forehead, okay? So everybody has a different race. Nobody knows what their race is. So I want you to really go for it, because this is real. You know, this isn't just an exercise. This is real life.
Lots of cultures eat rice. Doesn't help me. Shalom. I'd like to apply for a loan.
That's nice, Dwight.
Okay, do me. Something stereotypical so I can get it really quick.
Okay, I like your food.
Outback Steakhouse. I'm Australian, mate.
Pam,
No.
Pam, come on. I like your food. No, come on. Stir the pot. Stir the melting pot, Pam. Let's do it. Let's get ugly. Let's get real.
Okay. If I have to do this, based on stereotypes that are totally untrue, that I do not agree with, you would maybe not be a very good driver.
Oh, man, am I a woman?
I think you do, Mom.
Stop.
Okay, all right, no. All right, that's good. You need to push it. You know, you could go a little bit further. All right, okay. Kelly, how are you?
I just had the longest meeting.
Oh, welcome to my convenience store. Would you like some googie googie? Oh, I have some very delicious googie googie, only 99 cents plus tax. Try my googie googie. Try my googie googie. Try my googie googie. Try my...
Right. I think I found a line with that video. But the truth is, however funny or however uncomfortable that video makes you feel, this is actually some of the ways that we actually approach one another with these stereotypes and the way that we just make assumptions about one another just based on the way that we look. And it just shows us the ineffective way of approaching cultures, ethnicities, religions, politics, and so on. So yeah, that video is kind of, unfortunately, kind of truth as well in some scenarios. And basically what diversity is just how we deal with somebody who is different from us. And this time that we live in is kind of crazy. We determine whether to hate or to love, whether to friend or unfriend, to tweet or not to tweet. That is the question. Got some Shakespeare for you. But people, we love to kind of cower behind our screen, and we can easily spread hate to one another so easily in today's age. But we've been in this amazing series called You Belong Here, and it's all about community. And what does it mean to be part of God's community, the community of the church where we're sitting in right now? And going back to diversity, in today's world, we cast a lot of judgment. We go as so far as we try to determine who God loves and who he doesn't. So what does the Bible actually say about diversity? Those who we actually think are different from us. And I want to tell you, the Bible has a very, like we said last series, the Bible is the most upside down community in human history. And God actually designed where we're all sitting at called the church, which we all as individuals make the church. He wants it full of his people. And honestly, when you move to Southwest Missouri and you come to Southwest Missouri, there's a whole bunch of white in Southwest Missouri. I mean, we can reflect the sun with our bodies. I mean, that's how white we are around here. But I want to tell you guys what's interesting. If you actually look at your DNA, or even if you did a blood test, you would be a whole hodgepodge of everything. You would find probably Hispanic, European, Native American, African American. And that's what you are all made up of, most likely, not just one thing, not just quote unquote one color. And that's what I think is beautiful about each one of us, that God intentionally designed us to be different, broken, and beautiful all at once. And so today we're going to actually read out of the Bible. And so if you guys didn't know, the Bible is actually split up into two main portions. We've got an Old Testament. And the Old Testament, kind of when you first open the Bible, that's where it starts. And it's all about life before Jesus. And the New Testament, it introduces us to the most upside down, amazing, beautiful life changer, transformer, peace giver in human history. His name is Jesus. And that's all found in the New Testament. And so it's about Jesus's life, and then also kind of how the church started, how we all kind of ended up in this room today. And if you don't have a Bible, feel free after church to go grab one at the connection spot. We also have our Gateway Branson app on any of the app stores. And you can download that, and there will take you to a link to a Bible. And we'll also be throwing the verses up on the screen as well. And I want to point to the end of the Bible, because there's a beautiful scene that is actually created there. And it's in this book, it's found in the New Testament. It was written by John. And John had a revelation, and that means he had a and open it. For you were slaughtered, and your blood has ransomed people for God from every tribe and language and people. He wants everybody from everywhere to be a part of this. And part of the reason he does this, and God designed it this way, is that he wants people from every people group to come together to do amazing things. When we do things together, we trade amazing innovations and ideas. You know, part of the reason that Christianity kind of spread so quickly was that Israel is right next to the Mediterranean Sea. And during Jesus' time, the Mediterranean Sea was kind of the world marketplace, the world commerce. And even people called it the center of the world at that time, because all trade and people from everywhere would come flocking to the Mediterranean Sea. And so you find the disciples or the followers of Jesus, they start spreading out. And Jesus, because of this world that they're in, they're able to tell people about this amazing man who lives in Israel. They talked about him in Rome, all the way to Ethiopia and Africa. And we as a nation, we have a very similar thing that happened. We had amazing people from all over the world make up our amazing country that we get to live in. And one of the most amazing men that I actually learned about while I was growing up, his name is George Washington Carver. And he's actually one of my heroes and one of the guys that I kind of look up to. And George Washington Carver was actually born in Southwest Missouri. He was born right south of Joplin in the town of Diamond, Missouri. And he actually grew up a slave. And George Washington Carver, from a slave, would go all the way to be the headmaster at the School of Agriculture at the Tuskegee Institute. So this man went from slave to where God chose him to do something. And what he did affects everybody in this room. He actually he helped come up with crop rotation. And what that means is farmers' lands, their nutrients and their nitrogen and everything in the soil would begin to deplete. But George Washington Carver said, hey, you can plant soybeans, you can rotate the crops, plant sweet potatoes and peanuts, and that will actually bring nitrogen and nutrients back into the soil. He actually discovered so many things just with a peanut that they called him the Peanut Man. And so there's legend. The legend is that he actually may have created peanut butter, so he's already my biggest hero, because Caleb loves him some peanut butter. And I want you guys to listen to this quote. It's awesome that he said, when I was young, I said to God, tell me the mystery of the universe. But God answered, that knowledge is reserved for me alone. So I said, well, God, tell me the mystery of the peanut. Then God said, well, George, that's more nearly your size. And he told me. And it's amazing how God, and George Washington Carver is full of tragedy in his early life. But it's amazing how he still looked to God for his wisdom and his strength and his perseverance. That's his story. This incredible man was persecuted his entire life just because of the color of his skin. And I want you, this is how he looked at life, though. And it's another amazing quote. He says, how far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and strong. Because someday in your life, you will have been all of these. God desires us to be an amazing and beautiful, diverse community. And I love that I got to share his story as we get to honor as a nation this month being Black History Month. And his story just echoes the amazing things and the accomplishments that these incredible men and women have done for us and our country. Yeah. Guys, diversity is so worth working towards. So this part of the message I want to be talking about, it may make us feel a little bit uncomfortable. It may make us hold our breath for a minute. What I want you to do is, I really want you to ask for God's wisdom in your heart right now. Because I don't know where you guys are at with this whole issue of just because they're different from me. And I would ask you to ask God to begin to help you right now figure out what's going in your mind, your heart, and everything you're trying to sort out. So growing up, I lived in an extremely diverse community. Me and my family, we actually I grew up in India. And part of growing up in India, I went to what's called an international school there. And I had the amazing opportunity to actually be the minority in India. And I had the amazing opportunity, too, to go to school with people from all over the world, from Asia, Europe, America, South America. And you all get to be in a classroom exchanging ideas and thoughts. And that's the environment I grew up in. But when I came back when I was 13, I came back to the United States. And I had a major culture shock. I had major things trying to figure out what I've missed so far. I'm trying to figure out, in a seventh grader, trying to figure out middle school in America now. Now, the school I also went with, in Mobile, Alabama, they were actually kind of a diverse school as well. There was people from all different backgrounds and cultures. But if you're still in America, you still begin to see the wounds and the hurts and the deep scarrings that we have in our country. And I was just beginning to see how it truly affects people. And I've got this story. So I had a friend in seventh grade, and his name was Colby. Colby was a friend. He may have not been the best influence on me all the time. So one day, after we got done with PE, and during that time when I was going to school there, the 7th and 8th graders, they both had PE together. And so we get done with PE at my school, and so we go back into the locker room. And we're getting changed and getting ready. And my friend Colby, he says to me, he says, "Hey, come over here." And so I go over there, but now I know that when somebody says, "Hey, come over here," it's never good, especially when they whisper it to you. It's never a good idea. So I had all these other 7th graders start crowding around me. So I'm trying to make an excuse. I'm just trying to adapt where I'm at and try to be cool and be like, "Hey, kiddos, I know what I'm doing too," Try to adapt to this American culture. And they whisper something in my ear to go and say this to Bobby. And Bobby's an 8th grader. And so they want me to say something certain to Bobby. And to let you know who Bobby is, Bobby's an 8th grader, but he's a clone of Yao Ming. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Yao Ming. Yao Ming's an Asian basketball player. He was 7'8", and he played for the Rockets, and he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. And Bobby was a clone of him in 8th grade. He was a 6'8" Asian basketball player that they asked me to go and say this to Bobby. So Bobby is sitting in his chair, and he's all getting ready and everything from getting done with PE. And I nonchalantly just walk up to him. I'm like, "Hey, Bobby, you're a insert Asian racial slur." So basically, I just did something. I had no idea what I just did. So Bobby begins to raise up out of his chair, and I see a shadow come over my face. And then I'm like, "Okay." And Bobby stands up over him, and he's like, "What did you just say?" And me, being the gentleman that I am, repeated it to him. I said, hey, Bobby, you're an insert Asian racial slur. And so Bobby, by this point, pushes me to the ground, and I'm following backwards. And in my mind, I just say, I messed up. I done messed up bad. So at this point, I'm on the ground, and I'm screaming back up, and Bobby, what did I say? I'm sorry, Bobby. I'm sorry. And I felt like I was saying sorry to Bobby for an eternity, because by this point, all these 8th graders are around me, and they're wanting, I don't know what they're wanting to do. I thought my life may end in 7th grade because of this, because of what Colby told me to do. And so thankfully, one of my 7th grader friends came in and explained, the situation, what was going on. And so Bobby looks down at me and he's like, do you really not know what that means? And I'm like, dude, I just came from India. I barely know who Michael Jackson is. Like, come on. Like, I'm just figuring out what Thriller means. Like, this is all crazy. So Bobby forgave me. Thank the Lord. I'm still here today. And the next day, I go to the vending machine and I buy him a double stuffed oatmeal cookie, because nothing says friendship like Little Debbie's. So, and as silly as that is, and the moral of the story is don't listen to Colby. That's the moral of my story. The actual moral is that through these jokes, through these little comments, through this anger, I honestly could say I began to have some mixed feelings just through these little things that people were putting into my mind, these ideas that I hadn't felt. And I know maybe some of you have been there, where you start growing up and these ideas start putting into your mind and into your head. And then, late after in 8th grade, I moved to Ash Grove, Missouri. I moved here. And let me tell you, Ash Grove is a loving and beautiful, beautiful place, but there is some racism and bigotry that exists there like anywhere else here, unfortunately. And then I began to hear it, and I was around it. And a lot of the times people were just saying, it's a joke. I don't mean it. But a lot of the times when you hear evil whispered into your ear over and over and over again, it can actually begin to saturate your mind and your heart, that you actually believe what isn't true become truth in your life. And family, me and you, I've screwed up with my thoughts and with my pride at times. And you have your own story. And maybe it's a story of racism or pride, or maybe yours is a story of racial hurt and systematic injustice that has caused hatred or bitterness. For most of us, the thought of moving close feels scary, whether out of fear of being hurt and let down again, or feeling guilty and attacked, or just uncomfortable. But like I said from the very beginning, listen to what God is trying to do in your heart right now. He says, do you see what I'm doing? Will you work with me, or will you work against me? That's the question we have to ask ourselves right now. But here's what's awesome. God has changed me, and he keeps on changing me. And he's doing the same if you're willing. And it brings me to tears, and I cry a lot about the people that I love who are all over this world who look different from me. And to be honest with you guys, if I wasn't here, I'd probably be in India, because that is my home. That is still my family. And that's how it all should be. We should be loving everyone, especially Christ followers and Jesus followers, Christians all over the world, because they are all part of us. We are all working together. And, here in Branson, we are actually entering into a new tourist season. And with that, there's usually a lot of jobs that come open. And we actually have many people from all over the world that come and try to help fill the need of workers here in Branson. And I know that there's many thoughts and opinions when that starts to happen. But there's one story that wrecked my heart and transformed me a little, and it happened, of course, on a Thursday night meal delivery. So we're going around to the different motels and we're knocking on doors like we usually do on a Thursday. And I go up to one door and I knock on it, and a young man from Syria walks out. So we begin to talk, I talk about what is it like being here in America, what's it like working here in Branson. We begin to chat about that. He ends up telling me that his family back in Syria, at that time there was bombings that were going on between Israel and Syria. And he told me he had just gotten off the phone with his family that were headed towards a bomb shelter. And it hit me in my heart because so many times we look at what's happening on the other side of the world as just politics, but that night it hit home. It hit me like I was with him in that suffering that he was going through in his mind. We were there together. And I can tell you, family, that God loved that young man beyond belief, beyond what I understood. And so I don't know what my interaction had to do with it. God knows. But we began to actually pray for his family. And I knew that he had different sets of beliefs and he was totally different from me. But we still prayed together. And at the end of my prayer, as I'm picking up the tote to go back towards the van, he says to me, "Man, I never thought I'd be praying with an American." All that to say, Gateway, man, who are we going to choose to follow? You know, on our doorways and everywhere that we look around this place, it's beautiful, but we say, "Come as you are." Because we believe in that. No matter how broken you are, that God wants to transform you and turn you upside down. No matter how we look, no matter what our background is, no matter where we come from, that God sees you as a person. He sees your heart constantly. And just as we go out on a Thursday night every night, we don't ever know the situation, but God is desperately jealous for each person out there. I know that. And he wants so desperately to love them. And so, a lot of the times, though, we as people get in the way of that. And I ask you, how can God help you with that if you are struggling with something? You know, this community is for everyone. Paul in the Bible, he's a writer in the New Testament. He actually talks about the church as being one body formed into different parts and different functions and different talents and different what we call gifts as well. But all of us, no matter how different, are meant to be together. Listen to what he writes in the New Testament book of Romans. And so this is found in Romans chapter 12, 1 through 5. "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by the changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good, pleasing, and perfect." And basically that part of that sacrifice, living towards him, are you willing to give it back to Jesus, your way and your logic, and start trusting in him? Are you willing to be for God or against God? Let's go on, verse 3. "Because of the privilege and authority God has given me, I give you each of this warning." And I love this part. "Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given you. And just as our bodies have many parts and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. So no matter the culture, the race, the region, we all have a place in God's community, and each one of us have a role to play. And this struggle with cultures and groups actually also spans into poor, middle class, rich, this side of Branson, that side of Branson. You live in Hollister. We make these assumptions a lot of times just based on that. And when you're in elementary school, in middle school, and high school, what grades you're in, where people are at, what are you wearing, and everything. And so I would like to encourage us when we're dealing and interacting with one another and dealing with other cultures and politics and regions and everything. There's three things we always want to try and practice, and it's be curious, be empathetic, and be a lifter. Be curious, learn and ask questions. Be a cultural detective like Carmen Sandiego. Whoop, whoop. Think about marriage or any love relationships. If the person doesn't really know you or want to know you, you will never feel loved. You love by getting to know. So be curious. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to engage in conversations that you aren't sure about. Be empathetic. Care about what others care about. It's how you heal grief when people sit with you in it. You don't have to fix it or change it. Just say, wow, I'm so sorry that you were in the situation. Be empathetic with one another and where they're at. Be a lifter. Be someone who lifts others around you. If someone is in different culture or ethnicity, find ways to engage. And guys, one of the best ways and what we do here and what we believe in is eating. We love to eat with one another. And so that is a great way to just be encouraged when we're eating with one another. Be a lifter. Be somebody that just is always encourage and motivate one another. I would love to say one last thing that Paul says, and I think this is also the way as a Christ follower, as a Jesus follower. I'm not sure where everybody is at in this room, but for us who claim to be Jesus followers, Paul actually writes about how we are supposed to engage with all around us. Once again, Paul in the New Testament, in the book of Colossians 3:12, he says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, he says, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. And I believe, guys, that is the best formula we can ever have in life, is to actually swallow your pride and be a humble person. Humbleness is something that is hard to work towards, but it's something that we should have in our daily prayers and our daily interactions with one another. If I can get Kyle and the band to come back up. Diversity requires us to work together. Like I said in the very beginning, just for the simple fact, for our innovations, our ideas, our technologies that we have right now, think about what our country has been able to do together, even with our scars and our hurts. We've done amazing things. Work towards it. I know each of you have a story, and I know that each of you have reasons that you have been hurt, maybe by somebody in a different race. But I would ask you to maybe come to Restore even. Maybe there's something in your heart that you need God's help to fix. Come to Restore. Talk to somebody. It's okay. Honestly, guys, it's okay if you have mixed feelings and you need to figure out what God is trying to show you. But be with us in it as well. Be open to having a conversation to help one another figure that out. Diversity has to be in our community, and we have to be reaching towards that because that's what God asks us to do. Because like I said, every tribe and every nation is going to be represented. Doesn't matter the way you look. He doesn't care because God is chasing after your heart. So, my last thing is, guys, think about the way that we can unify. Because we actually have an evil thing. His name is actually, we call him Satan. We also call him the terrorist. The tool that he uses against us is division. How can we work together to create unity? And the people that are up on the stage, and I'm talking to you, I'm a broken, messy person trying to love God the best I can and follow him. Each one of us are that in this room. And so if you ever have an issue or struggling with something that somebody did to you, go to that person. Try to figure it out in the most loving way possible, because if you let that bitterness, that evil swelter in your heart, it'll destroy you. God wants unity. Satan wants division. And we see that in our politics, our social media. Everywhere we look, it's division. But let's not let him win. We win if we become unified. That's how we win. So strive to win. We don't do a typical offering around here. If you are a first-time guest, our service is a gift to you. But if you call yourself part of Gateway Branson, we have buckets in the back to where you can put your offering in. We've got stations as well. If you need prayer for anything that we've talked about today, there'll be people on the other sides of the room that would love to pray with you about anything that's going on. So as we sing this song, what I love about this song is it's called Thirsty. In that book we talked about Revelations. At the very end, it's actually one of my favorite verses in the Bible. God talks about he's going to make all of us new and everything new. And if you're thirsty enough, that's offered to you. Each one of us can come have a drink of what Jesus is doing in our lives. Thank you, guys.
Come drink from the well that never runs dry. Go deep, let love teach us to fly. There is rest here in the arms of Christ, and all who seek shall find. You're thirsty, the Spirit and the bride say, come. Oh, come. Oh, come. There's mercy. It doesn't matter what you've done. Oh, come. Oh, come. Just breathe. Let peace take over your soul. 'Cause whatever you need, our God is in control. Sing with us. There is rest here in the arms of Christ, and all who seek shall find. You're thirsty, the Spirit and the bride say, come. Oh, come. Oh, come. There's mercy. It doesn't matter what you've done. Oh, come. Oh, come. You're thirsty. The Spirit and the bride say, come. Oh, come. Oh, come. There's mercy. It doesn't matter what you've done. Oh, God. Oh, God. There's healing. There's freedom. There's more than enough for everyone. There's healing. There's freedom. There's more than enough for everyone. There's healing. There's freedom. There's more than enough for everyone. So we go. We go. We go. Your mercy is here, I say come. Oh, 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 oh. There's mercy. It doesn't matter what you've done. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Your mercy is here, I say come. Oh, oh, oh. There's mercy. It doesn't matter what you've done. Oh, 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 oh.
A lot of us feel like we can't come to him because we're not, we're not put together, we're not perfect. But God tells us a different story, that you are beautiful and you are loved just the way you are. And we need to believe that we are all that he says that we are.
He whispers in my ear, tell me that I'm fearless. He shares a melody, tell me to repeat it. It makes me whole. It reminds my soul I am all. He says I am. I am all. He says I am. I am all. He says I am. And he says I am his own. Oh, I was blinded by scales upon my eyes, and you came like a light, burned upon the light, and he set me free. He reminded me I am all. He says I am. I am all. He says I am. I am all. He says I am. And he says I am his own. I am loved. I am new again. I am free. I'm no slave to sin, and I'm a slave. I am righteousness, and I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. Yeah. I am
Praise God.
Heaven thundered and the world was born. Life begins and ends in the dust you form. Faith commanded and the mountains move. Fear is a losing ground to our hope in you. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Freedom conquered, all our chains undone. Sin defeated, Jesus has overcome. Mercy triumphed when the third day dawned. Darkness was denied when the storm was gone. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Shall be done. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. On and on and on. In your name, they shall be done. Shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. On and on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Shall be done.
Let's pray real quick, guys. Dear Lord, I'm so amazed at what you do, God. I can't imagine this world without everyone in it, God. From every tribe and every nation, God. It's a beautiful thing when we can all come together and sing songs for you and to you, Lord. And man, that's what it's about. It's about us digging deep and figuring out how can we love each other better, because that's what you've asked us to do. And And we always have to remember we love others because you loved us first, no matter what we do. And so I ask for each person, God, to seek out your wisdom. Not what was said up here today, not throughout the week, but they would strive to hear what you're doing and saying in their hearts and in their life, God, because you are the ultimate source of truth and you are the ultimate source of our community. We all belong here. Every single person belongs in your community. And it's an amazing and beautiful thing, God. So I pray for our community, the things that are going to happen and have happened, God, the wounds and the hurts from the past that have happened all around us, God. I pray for that. I pray, Lord, for just as we enter into a new season of new people and new everything, God, that you would help us continue to be a place where broken and messy people can come and learn about you. So God, just thank you once again for today. Lord, I just pray that you'd help us to learn to love people even more, that you would make us wiser today than we were yesterday. And God, that you would give us endurance for the future and hope for today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, I don't think we have to go boxes today. But anyways, thanks for coming to church. For people who don't like church, where no perfect people are allowed. Thank you, guys.
It's up inside your head. You got a voice that sounds. You won't get past this one. You won't win your freedom. It's like a constant war, and you wanna settle that score. But you're bruised and beaten, and you feel defeated. This goes out to the heaviest heart. Oh, to everyone who's hit their limit, it's not over yet, it's not over yet. And even when you think you're finished, it's not over yet, it's not over yet. Keep on fighting, out of the dark into the light. It's not over, hope is rising. Never give in, never give up, it's not over. Yeah, whoa. Yeah, whoa. Oh, king set match. Time to put it in your past. Oh, feel the winter leaving. It's redemption season. Long live the young at heart. Cheers to a brand new start. We're revived and breathing to live a life of freedom. Oh, to everyone who's hit their limit, it's not over yet, it's not over yet. And even when you think you're finished, it's not over yet, it's not over yet. Keep on fighting, out of the dark into the light. It's not over, hope is rising. Never give in, never give up, it's not over. Yeah, whoa. Yeah, until the kingdom comes, or until the race is won. Don't you ever give up. No, never give up. Until the kingdom comes, or until the race is won. Don't you ever give up. We will never give up. And oh, to everyone who's hit their limit. And even when you think you're finished. Oh, to everyone who's hit their limit. It's not over yet, it's not over yet. And even when you think you're finished, it's not over yet, it's not over yet. Keep on fighting, out of the dark into the light. It's not over, hope is rising. I was scared of dentists and the dark. I was scared of pretty girls and starting conversations. All my friends are turning green. Yeah, the magician's assistant in their dream. And they come unstuck. It's this movie that I think you like. This guy decides to quit his job and head to New York City. This cowboy's running from himself. She's been living on the high shelf. Oh, and they come unstuck. Running down to the riptide, taken away to the dark side. I wanna be your last man. I love you when you're singing that song, yeah. I got a lump in my throat, cause you're gonna sing the words wrong. And they come unstuck. I just wanna know if you're gonna stay. I just gotta know. I can't have it any other way. I just wanna know if you're gonna stay. I just gotta know. I can't have it any other way. I swear she's destined for the screen. Closest thing to Michelle Pfeiffer that you've ever seen. Oh, lady, running down to the river, taking away to the dark side. I wanna be your lady. I love when you're singing that song, and I got a lump in my throat, cause you don't say the words wrong. Oh, lady, running down to the riptide, taking away to the dark side. I wanna be your dancing man. I love you when you're singing that song, and I got a lump in my throat, cause you're gonna say the